Hi, and welcome to my podcast. Okay, so I've got something to say. I'm so excited to be joining you today and for our first ever episode. I'm also really excited about who's on here with me today. So today we're going to have a little Q&A time with my sexy Southern husband, Reed, who will probably be one of the most frequented guests, so to speak, on here with me. And it's kind of because of him that all this came into play, which will be discussed later. But so I thought for the first episode, I would like to just sit down and have a conversation with him and kind of have him interview me on how this is all even here and why. So I'm going to let you take over.
Okay. So let's talk first about how this whole idea came about. Why podcast?
Well, that's kind of two questions. You want the idea or why?
Why do you want to do a podcast?
To say I want to do a podcast is kind of half truth, actually, if I'm being totally honest. The whole idea of it, of where it came from, actually came one day while I was in the shower back in October of 2019. And I was just having a conversation with God on Facebook issues that we had Facebook Live. So not issues, but you and I had been, well, it started with me doing them, but I had been doing some Facebook Lives over your stunt that happened at the start of 2019, which we'll get into as well. And I was just kind of in the shower praying about it because we weren't really doing them anymore. And I didn't really know what to do about that because I wanted to continue sharing with people. But I really was not liking the whole idea of Facebook Live. And so one day when I was in the shower and I was talking to God about it, all of a sudden it's easy to say like, oh, I heard from God, but at the same time, it's not like an audible thing. It's like a head and spirit thing connected. I don't know how to explain it. And there was just this overwhelming thing of podcast, which I really didn't understand because I have listened to podcasts, but I wasn't really like a big podcaster, like that wasn't I'm more of watch things on YouTube. And I just had a few things that I listened to on podcasts. And I honestly didn't think that regular people made podcasts or could make a podcast. I honestly thought you had to be like famous to make a podcast because you have to have like a production team, right? That's what I thought anyways. So I was kind of shocked with that when it first hit me of podcast. And then I was kind of like, well, why? And that's how the name actually kind of got birthed in me as well, was when I was just asking God, why would you put this on me? Why would you put this on my heart to do? And all of a sudden I heard, because you've got something to say. And that's how I came up with the name. Okay, I've got something to say. So it's kind of a two-part there of how and why.
Okay. Well, let's go into that second part. How did the podcast idea start?
So February 3rd, 2019, Super Bowl Sunday, during the halftime show, you, the love of my life, decided to outdo Adam Levine with your own performance, and you tried to die. And I don't want to go into that too much, but you had a massive heart attack, and that started us on a new adventure and journey in our life. But during the time that you were in the hospital, after I came home, the very first night that I stayed the night at home finally, because I spent 16 days with you in the hospital, I started just having something on me that I wanted to say. Like I felt like I was supposed to tell people, because while you were in the hospital, obviously myself and lots of family members and friends had reached out to everybody that we could think of that we knew and begged people to help me pray for your life. And so when I stayed home that first night, there was just stuff that I really wanted to share with people, but I didn't have the ability to type. When I start getting super overwhelmed with a lot of info that I've got to say, I can't slow my brain down enough to type something out. So I couldn't do an update on Facebook with a status update. I had to do, my first ever Facebook Live. And after I went on Facebook Live and just kind of gave people an update about what was going on and how you were and how I was and all this stuff, I thought that would be the only time I would ever do it. I wasn't planning on making that like a regular. And it kind of turned into that because I just had such a massive amount of people like call, text, private message me on Facebook, whatever, saying, please do that more. Like they just connected with how I spoke. And I don't know, there was a believability in my tone, the way I said stuff, I guess, that just really resonated with people. And so anyways, so while you were in the hospital and then some after you came out of the hospital, I was doing Facebook Lives, keeping people updated. And then after you got out of the hospital, our life really shifted, especially in the beginning of your recovery. And we were super, super busy a lot. And there was a lot of emotions that were difficult to navigate through and with you and with me and stuff. And so we weren't really getting on Facebook Live doing them. And when we were, it was really difficult to say all that we wanted to say. But you would myself would get so distracted by seeing comments or whatever, like I could squirrel out really easy. And then also there's a pressure in the live of, there's just a pressure that I felt. And so I would try and rush through stuff and then we would end it and I'd realize I didn't even say half of what I wanted to say, but you can't get back on and record again to do another one. Like how arrogant do you have to be to keep recording yourself live, right? Like, look at me, fanfare. And so anyways, I just really wasn't liking them, but I felt like I really wanted to be able to keep sharing with so many people that were so diligent and faithful in praying for your life and praying for me and all that stuff during the time. And I just really wanted to keep talking to people because I so greatly appreciated them, but I hated Facebook Live. And so that was what I was actually in the shower praying about, was this indebtedness that I felt for the people that just invaded heaven with us and with me, that I wanted to keep talking to them, but I hated Facebook Live. And God, how do I do this? Because I feel like I'm letting people down and all that kind of stuff. And so anyways, that's the second part to the first part kind of thing, so to speak.
Okay, let's see. So what do you hope to have come out of your podcast?
Wow. So that's kind of a lot as well incorporated in that, because the truth of it is, so I've said it multiple times, and it kind of is a cliche thing to say, but I have said it since you survived, that I will never be the same. And a lot of people go through stuff in life and they'll go, oh man, I'll never be the same. But the truth of it is, you kind of settle back into your old normals and all that stuff. And you don't necessarily forget the greatness of whatever it was that you witnessed, or like the memory or whatever it was. But you just kind of go back to normal. And I truthfully have said, I will never be the same. And I mean it with every ounce of my being. Because I know for a fact that I could not ever go back to the person I was prior to. Once you have the gift of being the wife that stands next to the hospital bed, that watches the miracle that God gave us, I will never be the same. So my life goal prior to your heart attack and what mattered to me, and after your heart attack and what mattered to me, completely changed. I've always had a relationship with the Lord. I've always loved Jesus. I was very much more personal and private, though, before your heart attack. And now it's one of those, I just have to be able to share it. I have to be able to share how good God is. And so I want to be able to speak truth. I want to be able to encourage people, because the other part of me is, your heart attack is not the only fabulous trauma I've survived. And I really think that people get held hostage in places of hurt because they don't know how to move forward. And so if I can speak truth, if I can be an encouragement, if I could give helpful ideas and advice, like, that's the truth of it. But at the end, in all things, making sure that I give glory to God.
Well, that kind of leads into the next question. Just what do we have to look forward to in future episodes?
Oh, so there is a lot. And, truthfully, I just live my life like it's just my life. I'm a survivor, not a victim. And it's just kind of my story. Like, I don't want to like downplay anything that I've gone through because a lot of it is hard. But like for me, it's just one of those, it's just my life. But when I tell it to people, they're like, "Are you serious?" And I've been told that I don't even know how many times, you should write a book or somebody should make a movie about you. And what's so funny is while you were in the hospital, I jokingly said Sandra Bullock and Matthew McConaughey could play us, right? When you woke up, like you were still very groggy, like brain fog from all the medication and stuff. But I think my girlfriend Debbie was up at the hospital visiting and something got said and you said, "Yeah, Matthew McConaughey's going to play me." And I'm like, did he hear me while he was sleeping, or are you just smart enough to know like that's who I would automatically choose for you? But anyways, so people throughout the years, anytime they've heard different parts of my story, they have always said like, "Oh my gosh," like it's not impressive in a at a girl Connie, but like impressive in it's a lot. That's a lot. And so I thought, okay, like let's go ahead and go with it. So I have quite the past, and I've survived a lot. I've made some really dumb decisions, and I've had stuff that I've walked through that were done to me and I didn't have a choice in it. And so it's really going to be my personal journey in who I am, and going through how I've made it to today and all of the different things. So it's going to be a lot of hardships that I've endured and a lot of very deep personal things. And I'm also going to have guests and interview with people, and talk about other people's stories. And so it's definitely not going to be a Debbie Downer type of thing. I hope that it's super encouraging and uplifting, but it's also going to talk about real stuff and the hard stuff. And so that's upcoming. As long as God puts words in my mouth to talk about, then there's going to be a show.
Well, the last thing I want to ask, just what's your expectations or intentions on your episodes? How often can we expect you to put these out?
So right now my thought is, just so I don't overwhelm myself, because I don't want to put out unrealistic expectations. So currently what I'm thinking is that I will be releasing a new episode every other Monday. And that's just based off of what our life currently is. I am always open and praying about it. And if God puts it on me to go harder into recording episodes, to be able to produce more, then I definitely will. But I have a job still. I run my own company, small business from home. So I have that. And we have our beautiful 2 golden retrievers that are spoiled rotten and need to be taken care of during the day and entertained and loved on and told they're pretty about 1,000 times. And we currently have one son that moved back home because he's finishing his college. And I've got, you and our dinners and our church events and that kind of stuff. And so I thought realistically, if I said every other Monday that a new episode would go out, that I could keep that. Because the last thing I would want to do is put something out there that I can't actually achieve and then I lose people's attention.
Right.
And so if it's possible to go more often, then I will. But right now I'm just going to say every other Monday. So we have, I have my Facebook page, and I believe that all of the episodes as they release will be on that, from what we're understanding, because I am a total newbie in this. And so going off of what we've researched and read, they will go on Facebook. We have a YouTube channel.
Well, what is our Facebook?
So our Facebook page is the same as what the title of this episode is. And so anybody that's known me for apparently longer than 10 seconds says this is very fitting. So the title of the podcast is, okay, so I've got something to say. And that is what our Facebook page is titled. It's also what our YouTube channel is titled. Same as our email. It's going to be on all of our publishing for this, all of the different ways to contact us. And so people can send in show ideas, topic ideas.
Questions?
Questions, absolutely. I am begging people to not judge me because I am human. And that's actually part of the thing that has terrified me the most about this is how vulnerable you have to be to share your story. Like, I've always been good at giving people like a surface topic of me, but not getting deep. Like, you have to really be in my inner circle to get
Just more
deep.
superficial.
Yeah. And this is hard because in order to be believable, I have to be authentic. And it is opening myself up in a way that is terrifying. And letting people into our private world as well. And so my concern of why I have actually procrastinated and dragged this out, God placed this on me in October, and here we are, end of May of 2020. And so it's because you got to be really vulnerable. So I'm begging people to keep their nasty comments to themselves. But yes, I do. We want questions. We have an email account, which is the same as the title at gmail.com. And there will be a website and all of that. Everything will be out there on all of the different platforms on the multiple ways that you can hear an episode, that you can contact us. And I would love to have people like be able to answer questions. And that's the whole thing, man. If I can help just get one person from being stuck or in doubt, and move them to a place of freedom and healing because they can hear that somebody else has been there.
They're not alone.
They're not alone. That's the greatest thing. That's the greatest thing. And so I know I'm going to have multiple people at different times that are going to be on. It's not always going to be a Q&A with somebody else. Sometimes it's just going to be me. I know that people love to see your gorgeous face. So there are going to be times that it's going to be audio. And then there's also going to be times that it's going to be audio and visual, depending on the platform that you watch or listen. And lots of people like the way you and I just talk to each other. And I don't know.
Yes, it scares some people.
It does terrify some people, doesn't it? Yeah. But I think a lot of people, it's more terrifying for the people that don't actually know us well. And they're like, wow.
They have to figure out our love language.
They do, but we do. We have a good little system. So, yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that's about it.
All right. Thanks for listening.